Hi, I was so happy with how this tag turned out that I decided I wanted to do a video to kind of show how it's made. This is a tag for my 11th day of the 12 tags of Christmas 23-24. I decided one year during the pandemic that I wanted to honor the 12 days of Christmas, which begin on Christmas Day and run through the 12th night, which is the 5th of January, the day prior to Epiphany. And I wanted to do that in some way. It was a quiet year, not a lot was going on, so I decided to start this hashtag on Instagram, the 12 tags of Christmas. And I didn't really do anything to try to publicize that or get anyone else to participate in it. And then after that, I kind of got busy again, didn't really think much about the hashtag or try to do anything with it to promote it, and until this year. And I decided I'm gonna revive that hashtag and do the 12 tags of Christmas again. So what I've done is I've made a tag one day for each of the 12 days of Christmas. And today is the 11th day, so I have one more left to do. I also wanted to participate in Junk Journal January this year, and I decided that I would do some overlapping and use some of the prompts for Junk Journal January for the last few tags that I was making. So the prompt for this tag for today, for Junk Journal January, that is a mouthful. The prompt for January 4th is tuck spot. And I love making tuck spots, and I make lots of tuck spots. But when I was presented with this and wanted to do it to also be a tag for my 12 tags of Christmas, which, by the way, did I say this already, does not need to have a Christmas theme. I just was honoring that time in between Christmas and Epiphany. But it could be any theme, any type of thing at all, as long as it's in tag form. So I wanted to combine those. I need to do a tuck spot. I just the other day did a tuck spot on one of the tags. I'm like, not really feeling this until I sat down to create. And I have found that happens a lot. I don't feel at all inspired until I actually sit down. So, excuse me for a moment. So I was very proud of this tag because it actually has 8 compartments in it. So some are tucks, some are pockets, they serve the same purpose. It's a good place to tuck things. It's a good place to store things. It's a good place to put things that you don't really want in public view in your journal should someone flip through it. And what I've done is I've taken my basic tag and I've added, and this was a part I was so excited about, one of these paper dolls from Tim Holtz on the top as my main tuck spot. I was so proud of myself for even considering that, for even thinking about that. And I have this tucked in. And then I added this twine around the bottom of the tags, which I do that a lot, actually. I put twine or ribbon or something around to add just one more little bit of layering, one more bit of texture, one more thing to add to the tag. And I stuck one of these little Tim Holtz stencils. They look like they're metal, but they're really paper. And I put one of those stencils behind here. So this would be also a tuck spot. So that is 2 tuck spots on the top, because as you can see, this is here. This is just an old advertising trade card that I stuck in. Had to put a little tape on the back of it to reinforce a very, very bad bend in the tag. But now you can really see what it looks like. So she is a tuck spot. She's sewn down over on the side, but not right here. And so you've got a nice tuck spot there. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. Let's keep adding. Well, after I sewed her onto this tag, I decided I wanted the tag itself to be a pocket. So I put a couple of pieces of paper behind there. So it's actually, there's 2 pocket places, if you can see. Use this card to try to to put in here. I've got a little tight space going with my camera. So you've got a tuck spot right here, which is, or I guess I should say pocket, and one right here as well. So I just didn't put anything in those. So you've got, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. The 2 pockets, this and this, 4. So now let's turn it over. So obviously you have a tuck here, so that's 5. And I tucked in there this envelope. And then I made a 6th tuck spot by folding up the envelope. And I have this stuck in there. This makes a 7th tuck. That's just the back of the envelope. That makes a 7th tuck. Tuck this little photo in there. And then you open up and you have the actual envelope. So that's 8. 8 compartments in this one little tag. Isn't that amazing? So I got so excited and thought, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll show you one on camera. So I've got all of my makings right here. So many things. I've got my twine for the wrap. I have my letter that I need to emboss. That's how I got the texture on there. I ran it through my embossing folder. I inked it a slight bit, but I don't know if the ink stayed. I've got my paper doll to make the tuck on the front. I've got my envelope, and I had to cut this envelope down to make it narrow enough, and so I just kind of messy sewed it right there. And then on the back, I'll just take it and I'll turn it up like this for another tuck. Then you've got the tuck here. In addition, you have the inside of the envelope. This I just have as something as possible. I might tuck it in. This I got to put on something to tuck in. I'm going to use this yearbook page from the 1940s as the background for the tag, just like the other one that I did. And then I have a few other things that I thought I might use as tucks. Another one of these flashcards. I've got this German book pages, which I'm going to use just like I did in the other one to make the pocket on the back of the tag. The double pocket, that's all I did, is I sewed 2 book pages instead of 1. And that makes a really nice pocket. I have some scrap paper that I'm going to use to reinforce the back of this library card, because it's pretty flimsy, just to make it a nice sturdy tag, especially since it's going to be carrying some weight of some pockets and things like that. Then I've just got a few other things as possible tucks. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to cut my page to fit on my tag. Well, actually, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the corners off this to actually make this look like it's going to be a tag. And I am not super picky, so that's what I do. I bend it, I cut it, I open it back up, ta-da, we've got a tag. So there you have that. And after that, you'll find out, I found this out yesterday, that these yearbook photos are almost exactly the right size. So I am just going to quick cut this out, which I know I don't need to show you every single thing that I'm doing, but I just thought it was kind of a miracle to happen upon, and I talk a lot about serendipity, but just happening upon things that just work completely perfectly. And this just happened to fit. It just happened to fit. So it was the luck of the draw. It was a yearbook that was on top of my yearbook pile. And I'm doing this on camera, so most likely I'll screw something up, because that's typically what happens when I do things on camera. But you'll see that I'm not like hugely picky about things being straight. But that's almost exactly the right size to be using for this tag. So what I'm going to do now is just glue that on. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect, just because I'm also going to be reinforcing by sewing. Ew, I don't know what that is. Something that was apparently on my glue. It's kind of gross. Oh, it's a piece of paper. Couldn't tell what it was. We're just going to line this up as much as we can. It's not going to be perfect. It's a little bit narrower. and just get that on there real good. And then I'm going to just turn this over, and I'm going to cut to make it as close to the tag as what it was, so that then I can go around and blend everything in so that it looks like it fits perfectly, because you can see it was a little bit more narrow. So now we'll try blending that with a little ink around the edges. And I think that I just use something typically when I do this in the brown family. I'm not hugely picky about that either. Just like to get a little something on there just to kind of blend it in. And then we've still got some gluing to do, so it doesn't matter how well done it is at this point, because you can always go back later and do. I like making the corners extra dark for some reason. Don't know why. So there we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, just for reinforcement, a little bit more. I got this paper, and you can see it's been used for other things, so it's kind of, I ripped something off the back of there. So there's not a lot to it, but it's enough to it that it's going to give it a little bit more tooth. So once again, whoop, sitting here trying to take the glue lid off, and I've already got the glue lid off. So now I have glue all over my hand, which is typical for me. So I've got that. Just going to real quick try to back this with some paper. And this is just some scrap paper, like I said, from something else I have been working on. And then I'm going to just turn over and I'm going to cut this. Okay, so I have the back covered now. And it, just like I said, just for a little bit more stability. This is going to be all covered up. You won't see it. But I just wanted to put something on there for stability. So the next thing I'm going to do, before adding the pocket on the back, is I've got to take my die cut that I want to use for the tuck spot. I'm going to take him, and I love this. Like, I think it's so fun to have that person against that person. And I'm going to put him where his feet are on the tag, but his head pokes up just a tad. And I want to get him on before I sew the pocket on, because if I try put the pocket on first and then I sew, well, that's going to sew my pocket closed, and therefore why do I have a pocket? So first thing I'm going to do is ink some edges on him, just go around him, and then I'm going to take over to my sewing machine and sew a little bit off camera, then come back. So I have him sewn on right here. He makes a nice tuck spot. As you'll see, this is probably what I'll end up tucking behind him. And it just tucks really nicely. I mean, it fits. You can go all the way over to those stitches. You can, cut more things in if you want. Also, while I was off camera, you can see I just ran a stitch right down here. I also went ahead and put a hole in for my tag. So basically my tag's made. Like I said, when I made the first one, I was like, oh, well, that's really cute. And I was real proud of myself for using the paper doll as a tuck spot, but I wanted to add something else to it. So what I did is I just took these pages just out of a book, the text block I had removed from a book, and I'm just going to stack my tag on there, and I'm just going to sew around these sides. I'm not going to sew up the top, just starting here down to the middle. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of, I'm going to make these a little bit shorter. I'm going to tear off, like I said, I don't need anything to be perfect at all. I'm going to tear that off. This is 2 papers. That way you have 2 pockets. And, I mean, they're a little bit, they're old, but they're not super fragile, and I think they'll work well. They'll function as a pocket. So now I am going to, off camera, sew those papers on and trim them down once they're sewn, and then I'll be back. All right, I have now sewn on my pocket. So now the back of my tag looks like this. And I put a little washi here because I sewed kind of close to the edge and I wanted to make sure that those stitches didn't come out. And pretty washi for repairing is always good. I'm leaving this a little bit like that just so you have a little bit of a, you know, I like my edges like that. A little bit angry, a little bit rough. So now I've got 2 pockets back here. I'm going to show you real quick. You've got one here, and find something else to tuck in. Find that second one, as I'm like on camera and never can do. There's the second one right there, right here. So you've got two different pockets in there should you want to put something in there. It's kind of nice. Kind of like having that one too. So right now we're at 3. We've got 3 out of 8 tuck spots done. And really now it's just the assembly part. And the rest of this is purely simple. I'm going to start with the envelope that's going to go on the back. So we've got this. It's like I said, it's an envelope. And I just cut it off a little bit because it was too wide. So we're going to fill this while it's out. And I am going to I've got this picture, I don't know where this came from, of these kids. Something I bought one time. It's just a reproduction, like someone had made a copy of a photo. I'm just going to stick that in because I think it's kind of cute. Put it where you can see that kid's head. And I know that I'm going to be folding it up, so I don't want anything down below that fold. And I also might stick in, I've got a few other little things. Here's a little flashcard, vocabulary card. I'm going to put that in, just so that if somebody opens up this envelope, they would be like, look at all this cool stuff. And then I love this. This is a little tiny miniature playing card. I'm going to put that in too. I think that's cute. Now we've got all of these things, and then this was part of the envelope that I cut off, part of the address. So I'm going to put this in as well because I think it's nice to know where everything came from, except for I put it down too low. Actually, what I should do, I should just wrap everything in that. There, and now you've got this little bundle inside the envelope. So then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to bring the envelope up like this, and that's going to create a tuck spot here. This flap also takes a tuck spot here. So here we had 1, 2, 3, and now we've got 4, 5, 6. And what I put here is I'm going to do a little bit of work. I'm going to do this pretty much like my other tag was. I'm going to take this and I'm going to attach this little floral piece to it, and then we've got that to go here. But I think in the flap I'm going to put this because I think that's really pretty. And also I think I'm going to take some washi tape and secure these edges. I didn't do that on the other envelope, but I'm going to do that on this one because it doesn't flip up as far. And I would staple, but I just don't want to, I'm afraid I'm going to go through some of the enclosures that are in there. So instead I'm going to use some washi tape. So I'm going to washi tape this. I'm going to ink these edges, sew this on and finish sewing around this card. Tuck in, and then we'll finish it up. So I folded up my envelope and I put some washi tape on there to hold the tuck spot here, and then we've got this tuck spot here, and I inked the edges of these things and then sewed them together, and now that's going to go down in there. So look how cute this is. That's super cute. This is where we are right now, and what I'm going to do now really is just finish kind of assembling it. This is going to go here. as we talked about. And I love that. His last name is Tilly. And so when I picked out one of these letters, which is one of the final things I'm going to tuck in, I picked a T. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get an embossing folder, and I'm going to real quick I'll come back and I will have embossed. I might sew around this actually a little bit, and come back and we'll finish the assembly. I'll cut my string also off camera because, you know, I think you know how to cut string. I'll be right back. So while I was off camera, I embossed this Tim Holtz paper stencil. They look kind of metally. I did put a little ink on it just to kind of ink it up a tad, but I don't know if you can even tell that. It probably all came off on my hands as I was running it through the sewing machine. I can always go back later and ink that again. But so all of the parts are done, and then I've got this twine, and I'm just going to make a little wrap. And what I do is I just leave a little tail so that I can tie a bow with it. And I'm just going to wrap as long as I can. I don't know how many of these, how big I cut. Wow, I cut a lot. I didn't realize I made it that big. But it's kind of fun to me to do it like this, where you have a lot. And then when I get to the end, I kind of tighten it a little bit. And just try to tie a little, not like super tight, but just tight enough to keep it where it makes a nice tuck spot, because otherwise you're going to end up with some slack, and then everything's going to want to slide out of the tuck. So here we go. This is what he looks like now. Isn't this great? And then you've got, again, that where you can place it wherever you want. And we're going to put this in here. So now, as you can see, T for Tilly, Mr. Tilly, who is a representative of the Hope Card and Printing Company. So now we've got one tuck, two tucks, two pockets, so that makes 4. We're going to turn it over, and we've got this for 5, and we're going to put this in. I may have made it too tight to get my envelope in. May have to handle that a little roughly. Go back and retie that. That's just going in. So that's 5. And then we've got a tuck here, right here. This is 6. And we have the envelope lip tuck, just the little fold that comes over to close the envelope, which makes 7. And we've got the envelope itself that we tucked the things into earlier, which makes 8. And now we have this lovely, lovely tag. And I might go through, I'm probably going to cut this off. I don't really want that hanging off over the front, because I don't like the white edge of it. So I'm going to take this and kind of just add a little bit of color there. I can actually come in and color a whole lot of that if I want to. Just make it a little bit more dingy than it was originally. I like that. And if it holds over a little bit like it does, I'll just dingy up the back side. And that's what I like. Dingy. All right. And now we've got this really amazing tag. The only thing left to do is I'm going to take a little bit more twine, not a lot, because this is such a busy thing that I don't think that it requires a whole lot. And I'm going to run it through that hole that I put in that poor man's forehead. But honestly, I'm not bothered by that. I try not to, put holes through people's heads, but sometimes you just do. And this is one of those times. All right, there we have it. And now you see how you can make an 8 compartment tag using a combination of tucks and pockets. Again, this has 2 pockets on the back of it and a total 1 envelope and then 5 tuck spots. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll make one. And if you do, tag me in it. My Instagram is the same as my name on my YouTube channel. I'll look forward to seeing it. Have a good day.